So this is what we call take 2 of the TexAgs fan show. Actually, no, this is TexAgs Rewind with the TexAgs fan show, guys. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Howdy.
Hey. So I'm not going to say who the guy is, but apparently tomorrow we're going to have somebody on the show that said, what take was it again?
That Sam Pittman is a better coach than Jimbo Fisher.
So I think I saw it when it happened, but I was pretty busy at SEC Media Days. But I'm glad you're bringing that up because I think that'll be a topic of discussion tomorrow when I have said
We've encouraged Nuno to ask this guy to hit
Takes
him
like
hard.
that make me
Hard
wonder
takes.
how you define expert.
Well, and look, the guy's a nice guy. I've talked to him before. He's got some good insight on certain things. But that particular one, that's just like a hot sports take to go viral on certain shows, in my opinion. But hey, I'll give him a chance to give me his information. Then I'll read Jimbo's Wikipedia page, which will take me a while, and then we'll decide right here on the show.
But you can edit Wikipedia, so you may want to Google it instead.
Well, true. So we got a good show today, episode 2847, 22 and 22. Number 7, Edge Cooper. We like Edge Cooper?
Very much.
Fantastic.
All-American this year.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News. People like that interview. He's very level-headed. He has some good stuff to say about Texas A&M. Aaron Torres, always wackiness with him, always good conversation. And these guys.
Always good.
Matt, Hunter, Kelly, fan show. All that and more here on TexAgs Rewind. Number 7 is...
The Hog Hunter, Edgerrin Cooper.
The Hog Hunter who had recently, if I would have thought of it, I would have told Nick to get the picture up, a picture with a TexAgs shirt on.
Yeah, with a bunch of dead hogs around.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool.
Because he likes to hunt.
He does like to hunt.
He can hunt down those running backs, too.
He does it all, does he not? And last year, I don't want to say he came on slowly, but when he came on, he came on.
Well, I don't know how many games he started, but it wasn't very many.
Right.
But, so he was kind of a backup. I mean, he played a lot. 58 tackles, which on the surface, you don't think that sounds like a whole lot because, you see some of these linebackers that get over 100, 120. But when you realize that in the scheme that they'd been playing, I think Terrell Dodson had about 80 and change. Alaka's probably about the same. They just don't put up a lot of numbers from their linebackers. But what I saw from Edgerrin Cooper as the season went on, great speed at that position and very physical guy. I mean, he's got that explosive tackle, that when he hits you, he's going to knock you backwards. How many times over the last 10 years, and it got better recently, but did you see an A&M linebacker make a tackle and drag a guy down, usually as the guy fell forward? And Edgerrin Cooper is that guy that can not only in the play at contact, like Buddy Johnson did well, but not only in the play contact, but he's knocking the guy backward. And he's pretty good in pass defense too. I mean, I think this is going to be a huge breakout year for Edgerrin Cooper. We saw what he's capable of last year I don't want to even call it a small size, but we're going to see more of it.
He's the guy this year.
He's the guy. And I think he'll be, if you're going to call Von Miller a linebacker, I know he played that hybrid position, then Edgerrin Cooper, I'll put this out there, and in December you can either praise me or deride me. Edgerrin Cooper will be A&M's best linebacker since Von Miller.
Do you see the top tier being Alabama, then that next tier A&M/Arkansas, and then another tier, or do you see it differently?
I think Ole Miss is in that tier sort of with Arkansas and Texas A&M because there's a lot of unknowns with Ole Miss this year. Last year, I knew about Matt Corral. I knew about the offense. This year, the way Lane Kiffin worked the portal, they get a new quarterback, Jackson Dart, not a ton of experience. They get Zachary Evans, a guy you guys are familiar with down there in Texas, obviously, 5-star recruit that has bounced around a couple schools now. And they should be good on offense, but then again, Jeff Lebby left. So when your offensive coordinator leaves, you wonder if they're going to be that team. I think LSU is a big unknown. I think Brian Kelly is going to be good for them long term. There are other people that feel like that's going to be a disaster. I'm going to wait and see if that's fair. And then from there, Mississippi State, we'll see what they can do. They're going to throw it around a lot, and that's where that division kind of stands right now. Who did I leave out? I left somebody out.
Auburn, because I had them picked last. That's why. And Brian Harsin's on the hot seat. Obviously, they're
quarterback question is out there. I mean, obviously TJ Finley was, cited a few weeks ago. Their game against Penn State's going to go a long way in determining their season, because if they lose early to Penn State, given the hot seat that Brian Harsin was on in the offseason, it's only going to get worse at Auburn if they lose that game.
Are you a big on Devon Achane, the A&M running back who split time last year with Isaiah Spiller, got so close to 1,000 yards, probably would have he would have played the bowl game. Just how high are you on Devon?
I mean, he can get in that mix over 1,000 yards and be among the SEC's leading rushers. I think he's probably the least talked about among those guys that could potentially lead the league in rushing. Tank Bigsby gets talked a lot about at Auburn. There's some other seriously talented backs in the SEC this year. So, I mean, obviously inheriting that role that Spiller has. Spiller was somebody that was a known commodity. We knew about him last year, knew he was going to be consistent. So if he can get 100 yards, around 100 yards a game, get around 1,200 yards, score touchdowns, be a compliment to whoever your quarterback is. I know that battle's still ongoing. That'll be a huge thing for that offense.
I'm just saying, most people who spit that information after a year or two, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They didn't go to practice. They haven't been around the program enough to really know. To me, culture can be started for sure, but those who speak to it have to kind of live it, have to be there, have to see it. And it's not just one season, because what happens in year two if they're bad? Did the culture certainly go away?
I mean, look at LSU from 2019 to 2020, right? I mean, is that not the perfect example? I mean, it was clearly a player-led culture. And by the way, maybe Dave Aranda, as an assistant coach, had a little bit to do with that, because he was obviously the defensive coordinator. But it was obviously a player-led culture. Patrick Queen and Joe Burrow and all those guys leave, and it falls apart really quick. That's what cracks me up. And I know that sometimes, like, you see these videos on social media and like, people kind of mock them. But it is funny how every single coach, it's all about the culture. We got to get this culture shifted. It's like, perfect example. And I'm not doing this just because I'm on Aggie Radio. Steve Sarkisian, got to change culture. Okay, so you brought in a quarterback who has made every decision for the last 2 years based on money. You brought in two players who literally, Nick Saban was just like, I can't handle you. Like, I want nothing to do with you. One of them is already in trouble, and I know it was a minor thing. He had like a boot on his car. It's not that big of a deal. But like Steve, like every single coach says culture, and it's like when every single coach says the same thing, like you said, there are guys that walk it and talk it, and maybe Dave Aranda's that guy, maybe Sam Pittman's that guy. But when every single guy says the same thing, you got to take it with a grain of salt. And then it's especially funny when every coach says it, and then they immediately out of the other side of their mouth, take a question mark or take a character issue or, let certain things slide. I just find the whole conversation hysterical because it's what every single coach says, yet there's only a handful that can actually implement.
I get where the pundits, by the way, all the pundits keep going, I don't know. I mean, I can understand it.
There's
right?
room for that.
You look at our schedule.
With all the unknowns.
You look at our schedule. Okay, you can go. I mean, I get why they say Bama is a loss. I mean, okay, that's fair. I can see why they think. But then again, you still have, I mean, are we going to completely go unscathed through Arkansas, through Mississippi State, through Ole Miss, through LSU, through an improved South Carolina team, things like that? I mean, I can see where they're seeing that, right? But, I mean, we should still be favored in all those games.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, who knows? I mean, but this is where if we've learned how to finish, this will be it.
And think about this, guys. I use Evan Stewart as not the reason you're going to win 10, 11, 12 games, but I use the idea of Evan Stewart as a reason, because if Caleb Chapman is healthy last season, you throw deep more often. Mm-hmm. If Damon Demas caught on quicker than he was catching on, you throw deeper. That changes the way you go about your offense. And I'm not talking about Zach Calzada right now. I'm just talking about the ability to go deep. Evan Stewart gives you the ability to go deep. Tight end last season was not a strong suit.
No.
But Jalen Watermeyer led the team in receptions, first or second in receptions. And he had a rough year. Mm-hmm. If this group doesn't give you 46 catches but gives you something comparable, and I'm talking about the total, why not be better at that position? And if Achane gets the ball more often, why not have more explosive plays? So that's kind of where a lot of my optimism comes from.
I get the optimism. And yeah, you look at I was just looking at the roster before I came in here, right? Because I have a little bone to pick with, like, Stinchcomb and some of these pundits, as you say, that some people are down on us, right? But wow, yeah, there's just, I mean, if you go through the D line, it's just staggering. First I was trying to figure out the numbers, right? Everybody's new numbers. But from our returning guys and all the new guys, it's sick.
Well, the thing about defensive line, some of those guys are going to look great in practice and not quite as great on Saturday. And then the flip's going to be true, too. Some of those guys that didn't look great in practice are going to look fantastic on Saturday. And then there's going to be guys that's both. They look great both times or bad both times. And it's figuring it out. That's part of being a freshman.
When you're full of 5 and 4 stars on your D-line.
You got to figure it out.
You're
it's
gonna
like
be
Buzz
okay.
in the basketball team. Once he figured out where we needed to be, what we needed to do, and who needed to be on the court, they were really stinking good. And I think we'll see that with the D-line quite a bit this year. Once the coaches figure out who needs to be where and when they need to be there.
And with that kind of depth, you can simplify it for those freshmen too.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
hey,
can.
Walter Nolan, we need you. You're playing two downs on this drive.
But the beauty is you don't need those guys to be good this year. You're going to get those guys.
Yeah. Right.
But Tunmise has been waiting for a while. Fidel's been waiting his turn.
He's
McKinley
good.
is healthy.
Shamar looked great
Shamar,
last year when he
yeah.
was there.
So
Turner's awesome.
So you got those guys ready to roll. And then you have Anthony Lucas turning heads and Walter Nolan. Like, again, you don't have to you've got guys that have been playing and waiting to be the guy, and now they get their chance.
Mm-hmm. And tons of depth.
Well, Hunter, it's been a minute, and I think you know what to do at the end of YouTube videos, sir.
Yes, actually, while I was on my vacay, that's how I was catching up with your
The little rewind?
the rewinds, the summaries.
Did you see how you said the little? Like something was like a
It's
little
short.
show.
It's not an
adorable.
hour long or
Oh,
3 hours
okay.
long.
I thought it was like,
Your short rewind.
So I
Small
did that.
point
So
guard.
I'd already subscribed.
right?
So
That's
then
what
I
you
would
do.
like.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I shared. But
That's
I
all
could.
right.
And then I can comment on it.
You leave a
I
comment.
have a serious question because I look at the comments because I always tell people if you comment, I'll try to respond. Have you all ever commented on the video?
Yeah, I have. You've actually replied to my comment.
But thanks for paying attention.
I apologize. I didn't
Word.
remember.
I have not, but I'll start.
I didn't
Today.
wanna be-
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
be a hypocrite. So
Does anybody know how many YouTube videos I've watched in my entire life?
9.
9 might be the high number.
And
It
they're
could
always
be
like
less.
baby cats dancing. or
Definitely
something.
not baby cats. I can tell you that much.
This show's off the rails. It's TexAgs Rewind.